Good day, everybody. My name is Craig Jones, and I'm here to help you get a grip. And what I mean by get a grip, literally, Continental grip we're going to talk about today. Figuratively, get your head around this thing and understand how I'm going to get my body to work with my grip so I can maximize all those great benefits of a Continental. So we think a lot about the serve and spin on a Continental, but there's tons of things that you get from a Continental as well. Disguise is something that's often overlooked. We also have variety with the slice and top, but at the end of the day, we're hoping we get a little more power from this thing as well. So I'm going to talk about three areas of the body: the feet, the hips, and the shoulders, okay? And we're going to look at three areas of the game, three examples of when you want to use a Continental grip. We're going to talk a bit about the serve, and what's connected to the serve is the overhead. Talk about that as well, and also talk about a two-handed backhand with a Continental grip. So let's get started. On the serve, most people that start the game these days, they learn to play with a forehand grip, the one grip wonders as we call them. And when you serve with a forehand grip, the benefit is that the racket face is more open. But some of the negatives are we tend to get a lower contact point, the chest is a little bit more forward. So we have to think about, again, the three things: the feet, the hips, and the shoulders. So as I start moving this grip, I'm going to move my stance with my feet so that I'm going to get a little bit staggered to the other side, and boom, right there at Continental. Feet are in place. They align the hips, which also allows my shoulders to go past 90 degrees, okay? Once we have this with the toss, then magic starts happening. Again, we got to move the toss above the head, right? Feet, hips, and shoulder. And then as I go up to the ball, this is a shoulder over shoulder movement. We all know that, right? Cartwheeling is another thing to think about. It's like a reverse cartwheel. But if the toss is there, feet, hips, and shoulders, I can come on the inside of the ball, edge of the racket leading, and really learn to hit a top spin serve. For those of you that can do it, the toss may even be able to go back a little further and hit a kick serve. But naturally, with that forehand grip, it makes you want to open up. So to get the grip to stay, feet, hips, shoulder, and then up and to the right for a righty, okay? Directly related to a serve that's pretty obvious is an overhead. Now, for an overhead, even with the wrong grip in the service box, you ought to be able to control the ball to left, to the right, and to the center. Tennis matches are not won inside the service box when it comes to overheads. They're won past the service line. So the first thing we've got to do is we've got to move well, right? So that's a drop step, a crossover, and for a scissor kick, if you think about it, now I'm lined up very similar with my back right foot. Hips are naturally more at 90 degrees, and then my shoulder can be in the right place for it. Here's the problem. If you're used to a forehand grip on your serve, you're going to go back and try to scissor kick, and you are trying to get open because that's your natural move, which we don't want. I've seen other people learn to run back well. They'll stop, lose power, lose disguise. So all this needs to work together. With the Continental, again, drop step, crossover, and then for the scissor kick, foot, hip, shoulder. Then I can keep my head still, I have disguise, and the magic starts happening again. So just remember, you can get away with murder in the service box on the overhead. But what we've got to do is align that Continental grip with our feet, our hips, our shoulders. So we combine that movement, we'll be up in the air. Opponent doesn't know where we're going, but we do know where we're going because that Continental grip is going to allow us to do that. Okay, final piece, two-handed backhand. People that start off the one grip wonders, they start off with a forehand grip. This is what happens inevitably as they step across, which is a closed stance. The hip generally locks. They play really flat and late. And because the hip is pinned up, the shoulder gets pinned up, and you have limited extension. There are people that play the tour with forehand grips in their right hand, believe it or not. But we want to take advantage, again, of spin, disguise, all those great things. So in order to change this, we've got to do a couple things. Number one, I got to position differently with the ball. It needs to be in front in terms of front and back, a little bit more in front than before, and it's going to be inward here. So what does that mean? What it means is with this Continental grip, I can now step forward, okay? Then it allows the hip to release. Then it allows my shoulder shoulder, arm to hand to drive through the ball. Finally, huge benefit. Notice what's happening. My left foot comes around more naturally. Then I can cross over and shuffle for better recovery. So let's look at this again. When you're the one grip wonder and you have your forehand grip, typically you step across, locks in the hip, locks the shoulder back, and then what happens? Late for recovery, you got to make 3 steps instead of 1. So when you go to Continental, you got to change a little bit how you position. Back foot to front foot, a little more of a squared stance, allows the hip to open, allows the shoulder to drive through, and finally the huge benefit is now the recovery should be one clean swipe for a crossover and shuffle. All right, so remember, Continental grip, to take advantage over the great things about a Continental grip. We talked about spin, disguise, variety, and all of those things. You got to make sure that that grip aligns with your feet, your hips, and your shoulder, and then hopefully today I helped you to get a grip. Thanks.